5:30. Are you okay, Madam Clerk? So we're going to move forward. Thank you for waiting, folks. We're a little busy in the back here. So we'll move on right to the manager's report, the work session.
Thank you, Mayor. First up is a discussion regarding bring your own bottle ordinance that we'll be working on. We need to fine tune it with the fees and some changes in the rules, and the city attorney is working on that with the clerk.
I mean, yeah, and I would just say, I mean, I think that the big issue is there are, not every town, but a lot of towns have BYOB regulations, right? There's state rules, but you can expand upon them. And I think from the council, maybe some philosophical guidance would be useful in terms of, you know, some towns have significant fees, some towns, you know, do it as a fairly minor fee. You know, obviously there's some administrative burden involved, but that's the question I think we're trying to come up with in terms of looking at some towns. I mean, you know, one version we looked at, it's, you know, $500 for an initial approval, then $250 a year. I think another town is, you know, like $100 for an initial approval and no added fee, or a minimal, you know, additional fee. So, you know, do you have any direction in terms of what you would prefer in terms of that sort of philosophy? You know, different people have different ideas about it.
Second is discussion regarding a ordinance to amend chapter 170, which is titled the Abandoned Vehicles on Public Streets ordinance, and the basis in that is we are going from 48 hours, from 72 hours, correction, from 72 hours to 48 hours for the consideration of whether or not it's abandoned vehicle.
Let me clarify one other point. So we're basing this on state law, you know, which has some provision. If a vehicle is dumped on the street without a license plate, we can tow immediately. That is part of the state law. So that's actually part of this ordinance as well. So if it's just a vehicle that looks otherwise like it's got a license plate, and it may just be, you know, somebody vandalized it or something, they may not even know that it's been vandalized, you know, there's after 48 hours you could tow it, but at least there's an opportunity for somebody to address the issue, because presumably if there's a license plate, it's a car that somebody is intending to maintain. The issue that's come up is, apparently I've been told some tow trucks will take derelict cars and just leave them on the street. There's no license plate, there's no nothing. If we find those, we'll tow them immediately as soon as we're aware of them, get them off the street. If they're not claimed within the period of time that the law requires, you can actually auction them off. So, sort of.
This could be devil's advocate. What if it's a newer model, late model car, and somebody took the plates off the car, stole the plates?
Well, you have to keep it and maintain it. I mean, presumably most people would expect, if their car has disappeared, that they're going to call the police department. And the police department is going to have to say, well, you know, where was the car parked? And there's going to have to be some record keeping when it's towed. You know, it was parked on, you know, Main Street, you know, and on some address on Main Street, was parked right in front of there.
Well, my point being is he had his car parked, and if somebody had their car parked in a perfectly fine place, it may have even been paid for it, and they're stealing plates now, they steal his plates, we go and tow had the car towed, because somebody passed by, there's no plates on their car, and they tow it. And now that guy's got to pay money to get his car back.
Well, I mean, you know, there's a couple of things. I mean, you know, in terms of that, I think that probably does come down. If it's an unusual circumstance, I would hope the police would show some judgment and say, hey, you know, maybe we can pull the VIN. You know, sometimes you can see the VIN on the dash and track down the vehicle if it looks unusual.
I just think we should take precautionary steps. If it's a new car and it's not a piece of junk that we know is somebody's dumping there. Yeah, it's a 2022 Mercedes with no plates parked on the street. They're going to tow it? No, somebody's car, most likely.
Well, they're going to have to address the plate. I mean, you know, and look, I agree with you. I mean, I think there'd have to be some judgment. This is to give the option, you know, if it's clearly derelict, to move as quickly as possible, because
people know that it's illegal to park a car without license plate.
But what John is saying is, if someone steals the plates.
Oh,
Then if somebody drives by, sees the car with no plates.
but that should be an action that should be taken care of the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know, if you got your car outside your house and you're moving your car to work or whatever, You're gonna notice it that the license plate ain't
I
there.
mean, it's rare that it could happen, but it's just a thought.
It's not the experience though that motivated this. I mean, this does come
Right.
out of, as I said, unscrupulous, junkyard people, they need to drop a car, so apparently they're just leaving, wrecks on the street,
Mm-hmm.
with no plates, with no nothing, sometimes with no wheels. And state law provides that you can tow a vehicle without plates immediately.
Right.
It's 48 hours, so our ordinance was 72, so we're moving it down to what the state provides, which is 48, but immediately if necessary for, and obviously that's presuming it's parked. I mean, if it's in the middle of the road or something, you can tow
Right.
anything immediately if there's a safety issue, but we're just saying if it's in a otherwise normal parking space, then, you can tow according to the ordinance.
All right. Number 3.
Number 3 is regarding our recycling coordinator reappointing, which is Lisa Marie. Can never say her name right from anyone. Shealy?
Chili.
Shealy? Okay. That's our reappointment for the upcoming year for our recycling coordinator. And
Now, I have to do something with the recycle. Now it's very expensive to get rid of the recycle, the plastic, whatever, right? Sometimes get mixed now, because it don't matter, right? So what are gonna be the function of that person when,
well,
what's he gonna do?
You still have to have a
we
license.
still have to have a certified recycling coordinator, no matter what, that's
No
the
matter
law.
what. Yeah. Oh,
And she's
Okay.
part-time, she doesn't, she's actually has another position in May. We don't have a full-time person doing it, so.
Okay.
Last but not least is our combined sewer, stormwater, and parks update. I will call up our city engineer, Chris Wheaton.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
This is your CSO and construction projects update.
Frank?
This is a little hard to read perhaps for the public, but just gives you an overview of the overall project status. I just wanted to point out a particular correction that was made for Carver Park. The date for completion was corrected from December 23 to September of this year. That's because it was previously linked to the Columbus Park project, and now those two projects are being separated. Everything else in this schedule is basically the same from the last update. Our CSO projects are proceeding well. Contract 2 is the large head wall at the river, as well as box culvert installation. That project is proceeding. The box culvert continues to be moved along, and the tide gates at the head wall have been installed. Contract 3 along Clay Street is proceeding on schedule at this time. We are working towards the railroad crossing and anticipating that crossing will be taking place within the next month or so. Voorhees Lane, we have been making progress with the contractor on this project. As we've been discussing, there has been an issue with subsurface conditions. We have had good dialogue with them. I expect to be resolving that hopefully within the next week. We just, one of the items just went off. Might need batteries for me. That's good. One of the items that you've been discussing is the re-engagement of geotechnical services, and we're just waiting for their opinion before we finalize these. So now that geotechnical engineer has been re-engaged, we will incorporate their opinion into the discussions with the contractor. So continuing to the parks projects, Stein Park, we have been working very closely with the contractor to get Stein Park completed. Have set a schedule for substantial completion middle of April and final completion the end of April. We've had a couple of days of bad weather throughout, and this work some of it does depend on warm weather, so we're making the progress that we can as the days provide. The remainder of the parks projects are continuing. Johnson Park, we will be bidding later this month, the first phase of that project, which is the surcharging of the soil there to accommodate the superstructure for construction. So that's the first phase of that project, and that will be issued as a separate contract. Carver Park, I've provided you with a schedule for completion, just to walk through the steps. As I say, we'll be advertising this month. The recommendation for award would be expected upon the receipt of bids and the consultant engineer's review, which would be April 18th. The contract would be awarded then at the next council meeting on the 9th, which would put us in a position to have notice to proceed, receive the contractor's documentation and bonds, and notice to proceed the end of May. It's a 16-week construction period. If we have favorable weather, that can be shortened, but right now we're looking at a finish of mid-September for Carver Park. Other projects include the Atlantic Street Garage. Those repairs are just about complete. We are anticipating completion of this project in April. Main Street streetscape is progressing well, and they're now working on the east side sidewalk and paver installation. And just to wrap up, other projects include the paving program for the city, and those projects are listed here. This is the same as was presented last meeting. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Well, my big question is, not my question as much as it is my wish list, is this Carver Park thing, we gotta try to really move this forward as fast as possible. Any time we can cut off this is gonna be appreciated by the community, because those courts are always so busy. We're moving forward with reaching out to the city manager's office, will be reaching out to the high school about open gym, using some of their gym time, and probably the middle school as well. And obviously we do have Columbus Park, but that's a hike for these kids to get from Carver, that area, that neighborhood, down to Columbus Park. We have fields, they're basketball courts, it's just, they're not, geographically here where we need them to be. So 16 weeks, I'd love to see it get down to 12 or something, and obviously we don't want to rush it and create any safety issues or anything like that. But we got to try to move this thing forward as much as possible. And we'll see that, from the bidders, let's see what they say on their time too. But the one thing we have to do is, we're again, being a municipality, we're stuck going low bid. And it's just, I've been doing this for a while, and every time you go low bid, you got 50 change orders, and you're 3 months, 4 months, 5 months behind schedule. So, and you end up spending more than going with the guys you knew could do the job right in the first place. But that's the law. And so I don't know if there's any rules or anything we can institute penalty-wise when they start getting,
I mean, there's various contractual provisions that you can conceivably utilize.
performance bonds and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can call it performance bonds, there are, steps, and those are tools that you use when you go and speak to them and say, if you don't get this done, we're calling in the
So
bond.
let me ask you this, so if there's a company out there can do it in a much faster amount of time and get it done faster, and you've got a track history of completing their jobs on time, is there anything in the law where you can go with a higher bidder, citing, hey, we need to get these courts open?
Because there's alternative there's co-ops, there's different state, contracting things. So a lot of times we don't even go out to bid for stuff that we otherwise would because of that. But when it comes to these projects, and I know there's some stuff about like design build projects and things, the way they built the Tappan Zee Bridge and some new concepts.
Right.
And you can disqualify, I mean, there is a provision for if you really have a bad experience, there is a way to potentially disqualify them from future bids.
Well, we've had bad experiences. We had bad experience at the M&M building, we had bad experience at Stuyve Park. Now another park, we're moving forward on a big project, and it just seems like,
Well, I mean, if there is a time frame and they're not meeting it, then you can call them on it, right? It's a breach of the contract. These contracts all have, assuming you have met your obligations, right? That we conducted the pre-construction meeting when we're supposed to, that we have met our requirements. If they're not meeting the terms of the contract, then, they are in breach of contract, and yes, there are tools and mechanisms. But again, there are always two sides to that coin. They come back and they say, well, you did X, Y, and Z, and then you get into the whole litigation type situation.
and then
So you have to
meanwhile,
be pretty
that
sure
can
you're
take
right.
time. That's what happens, because then while you're doing that battle, no work's getting done. So, Chris, we gotta definitely, this is, this park is very important to that neighborhood, and we need to get it done as soon as possible, just, can't emphasize how important it is, so.
Is there any incentives that could be offered to expedite this?
People can see that will impact.
That's a question that's been raised there, I think. That is a question that's being explored, I think, presently. It is something that I had asked about, and the city manager and Steve, I think, would weigh in on that.
You hire the people that will be charged.
They want the bid process. So, any other questions or comments? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right.
They got the process. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, need a motion to open to the public, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilmember Pataglia.
Yeah.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public who'd like to speak, please come forward to the podium, give your name to the clerk. You have 3 minutes. Over the podium, sir. Yeah. That's all right.
Okay.
How's everybody doing?
Good, you?
My name is Gerald Francis Jr. I'm a lifelong Hackensack resident. Just a couple of things that it's been bothering me. And it's my first time ever come to a council meeting. That's my coach right there, Coach Carroll. I'm just gonna say the first thing first. All right, so I coach the junior commons. Last year we won a championship,
Which sport, sir?
football,
Football?
and our kids were not recognized at all by you guys up here, and that really puts us in a place where it's like not a good state, not a good feeling. You know what I mean? Like these kids, they work hard every single day. One of my coaches is actually here right now, Coach Lou. We push the kids from day one, and like to be honest with you, I've been doing this for 11 years. So I've been pushing for 11 years just to try to get the best out of the kids in this community, because it means that much to me. Like I said, I was born and raised here, and when we actually achieve something, we bring a championship to the city, we feel like we should be recognized. And we feel like we should have been up here, had our proclamation awards already, and had our names on TV, paper, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So that's where I stand with that. And I just want you guys to know that we're, really gonna happy with that. That's something that, we feel like you guys, you talk about the community so much, you're doing a lot of redevelopment. You guys are busy, but we feel in a lot of ways, enough time is not taken out for the kids in the recreation. We feel like the recreation is in the hole because we have nothing for these kids to really do. You know, so, I mean, we just really want you guys to understand that you guys gotta be behind us. I see in other cities, the whole town, the whole city count, everybody's behind their recreation. You feel like you guys are not behind the recreation at all. You used to coach football, Mr. Mayor,
15 years.
and, you know, in my eyes, and I'm not, you know, I'm just gonna call you out on it. I just really feel like, it's like a been there, done that type of thing for you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Your kids, you know, they're all grown. You know, you coached me when I was a kid. You
Mhm.
coached my friend Colleen Hazel.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
He's his
mean?
first coach.
All right, so this is what, the passion that we have, we need the same feedback from you
I don't
guys.
disagree with you, Mr.
You know what I mean?
I didn't even know you guys won the championship.
And that's
Somebody
the problem.
somebody has to tell us that though, because we're,
Okay, but
you know.
you have Facebook, you're in connection with the recreation.
this is the first I heard it. Which team was it? Was it I know you've changed the names and we used to be Blue
Lightweight.
Gold, and then the language, we called it the C team back in the
Right.
day. So it was the little guys, the 11-year-olds?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the
Yes.
team I had for 3 years. First I heard it, so I wish I had known, because I mean, we've recognized track, we've recognized basketball.
Just to make mention that if you want something done, such as a proclamation, citations, anything like that, you should let the clerk's office know as soon as the championship has been won.
Okay, but my thing is, you guys are in connection with the recreation department on a daily basis, right?
Well, to be honest, I just got an email today saying that, and I just opened up the email right now, just to see what football team it was, and it was you guys. I just literally got it this afternoon, or I'm sorry, yeah, this afternoon, and they listed below as the team roster that was led by head coach Gerald Francis. Please let me know when the presentation will be, so I can coordinate with the team to be present at the meeting. And I got a list of names, and I told my secretary to make sure that she contacted you, if you'll give me a contact number, to make sure that we also have the coaches' names.
Sure.
Because I'll do certificates for the coaches along, each kid will get a certificate, and then there'll be one proclamation. Now, it can either be at the next meeting, or whatever meeting where you can get the most of the kids together.
I'm meeting with the parents this Friday anyway, because you know, like I said, we really feel like these kids deserve whatever they need to get.
Agree
when
100%.
they're championship.
Mr. Francis,
We're actually trying to
we always
pocket.
recognize the kids, and I feel, I apologize if we didn't know.
Yeah.
But usually somebody gives us that,
Yeah, we usually get a
Sometimes
heads up,
heads up
sometimes
when
some things
rec
get
and
lost
devil.
in.
My son won in 2016, and you guys knew it instantly. You know? I just don't understand how come, you know, the communication was there for us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why I said, if you're the coach, and then you can pass this on to other coaches, let my office know as soon as possible, and then I will then be in touch with recreation to make sure that we're on the same page, and I have a list of names and stuff.
Alright,
But I can give you,
What was the date that you won the championship?
it was in November, it was like the last week of November.
here's my card with my email.
Mhm.
So like I said, as soon as you know, and as soon as the championship is won, send me an email.
Alright, and there's one more quick thing, it's real quick, I'll get out the way. I also work for DPW in Hackensack, and, I'll be real brief with this, I know in the next meeting, the guys, they're gonna come here, and I'm just gonna try to warm it up for them. I've been working there for about maybe, it's my second stint there, so I would say like maybe 5 months now. But there hasn't been a contract in the last year and a half or 2 years, almost 2 years. And I just really feel like we're just as important as the fire department and the police department. We keep the environment clean. Without us, Hackensack will be trashed. We're not getting paid the way we're supposed to be paid. All right, and I just feel like we need to do better or try to get something going, especially for the guys that have been there for 20, 30 years. They're still making the same amount of money they've been making for the longest. You know what I mean? So in the next meeting, there'll be other guys here, they'll explain more, but that's something that needs to get on the roll, because we feel like we're not important. We feel like we're not being appreciated. You know, we work hard every single day. Our time is like 4 to 5 hours we work, but we do a really good job every single day. So I just want to put that out there too.
All right.
All right, thank you.
As far as the contract goes, that's, the city manager knows that, so. That's about that.
on the bottom,
Thank you,
you
Mr.
can
Francis.
call.
Thank
But like I said, as soon as you know, just give me a heads up, and then, because unfortunately, my kids are all grown and I don't follow football anymore, I'm sorry. My daughter was a cheerleader though,
Nice.
so I did go.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else from the public like to speak? Seeing no members of the public, motion to close. Need a second?
Second.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Mayor Canestrino is absent, Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. All right. Need a motion, we're gonna go back in?
Do you need,
No? All
Steve,
right.
did we need
Do
to?
you need anything else?
Unless you
Any
want to
motion
further
to close?
discuss the stuff that we were talking about.
Motion to close the executive session.
Okay. Good motion.
Offer. Second. Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent, Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to close the council of the hall.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Mayor Canestrino is absent, Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, we will be back out here at 8 o'clock, folks.